Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is At the Helm Sports. I'm your host, Derek Helm. Thank you for joining me for episode 137. Please be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. And in the comments section, let me know. Are you more inclined this week to go up top to Rory McIlroy and Xander in DraftKings, or do you kind of like the guys below them? Because that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. Is I think I'm going Rory and Xander, but I do like some of the guys below him. So it's going to be an interesting decision, but I do think the two of them are head and shoulders above the field. So let me know what you think down in the comments section. But this week we'll be diving into the 2024 Genesis Scottish Open, all the DraftKings plays, all the bets, all that good stuff. Quickly recap the John Deere. Now, I know the John Deere's kind of, but it was okay for what it is. You know, it's nice to have couple birdie fests and glorified Corn Ferry events, but it gets old when you got a couple of them back to back. So it's nice to head overseas and have a pretty good field this week. But good for Davis Thompson. He was very calm the whole way, cool and collected. Every time they showed him, it just annoyed me for some reason. Because you could just tell he was just trying to be a robot, and I don't know, just his face annoyed me for some reason. But good for him. I thought about him, just didn't love the number, and really ended up not getting there. Everything pointed to him with the way he's been playing. So it definitely it was well deserved, and he played incredible golf. Obviously, no one had a chance really to catch up to him. Now, Im maybe could have if he didn't just not play golf on Saturday. He was absolutely awful. So Sungjae was pretty good overall, other than Saturday, but couldn't come through for us. And then had the each way on Cole, who was tied for second going into Sunday. And obviously, Cole's going to give you one shitty round every single tournament, and that happened to be the one. So he fell out of the each way. So that wasn't great. But overall, it was an okay tournament, and Im came through with the top 20 from a DraftKings standpoint. Not really great, but didn't lose my shirt. So that's always a plus. So really, we can move on from the John Deere. Not really the greatest tournament in the world, but did want to talk about Keegan real quick. The Ryder Cup, obviously, they announced that Keegan's going to be the coach, and I know that we are supposed to be all up in arms and on one side or the other screaming, but that's not how I roll. So really, for me, I'm fine with it. I really don't have strong feelings one side or the other, and maybe this podcast would be a little bit more popular if I did stand up and scream about shit all the time. But as you guys have seen with the live thing, I kind of just sit on the fence and give my opinion and kind of see both sides of it. So I get people that are upset that maybe Keegan doesn't deserve it, and this is just a glad handing him from keeping him off the team last year. And all that's true. But at the same time, what they've been doing hasn't really been working all that great. So why not switch it up? I think Keegan absolutely cares very much about the Ryder Cup. I think he's going to do everything in his power to put together a good team. And I think that's a good thing for the USA. So, like I said, I see it from both sides. I do get the people that are kind of saying maybe he didn't deserve it. But at the same time, I mean, who cares? It's the Ryder Cup, and he's a guy that clearly cares about it very deeply. I mean, the guy was in tears when he didn't make the team. So the fact that he's the captain now, you are going to get his best effort, and I think you should be pretty happy with that. So I kind of like it, and you know, it's very rare in golf where we see just guys going completely off the board, and I'm all for it. So I'm absolutely fine. So that's enough Ryder talk, Cup, and John Deere. Let's dive into the Genesis Scottish Open. Obviously, we are a DP World Tour and PGA sanctioned event together. This is the third time that we're doing that. Has been played prior to that. And in 2023, Rory won at 15 under, basically held off Bobby Mack. Bobby Mack surged on Sunday. Rory hit that incredible 2-iron, obviously, to 8 feet. Hit birdies on 17 and 18 and ended up winning. Xander in 2022, a little bit more difficult, a little more windy conditions. So he was -7. Minwoo Lee in 2021, -18. Aaron Rai, -11 in 2020. And Bern Wiesberger in 2019 at -22. It is a 156-man field. Top 65 in ties will make the cut. The Renaissance Club. Basically, it's a links style course. Now, every hole isn't on the ocean. I think about 4 of them are, so not your typical links course, but very similar. We're going to see a ton of pop bunkers and fescue. So definitely gives the link style feel. 7,267 yard par 70 with fescue greens. Now it's interesting because there are 3 par 5s and 5 par 3s on the course. 3 of those par 3s are over 200 yards. So definitely want to take advantage on the par 5s, try and do some scoring there. And then these par 3s are going to play pretty difficult. Excuse me. So really don't want to give up too much ground on there. And then obviously we have 10 par 4s as well. The weather is always a concern being in Scotland, and we've seen it at this tournament several times. Obviously, last year as well, it was pretty good all through the first 3 rounds, and then on Sunday we got gusts up to 40 miles an hour. So definitely want to keep an eye on that. Kind of hard to really forecast too far in advance. As of right now, it looks like it's going to be okay. Getting some rain overnight, probably into round one, maybe at the very beginning, but probably should stop. So going to be some soft conditions for round one at least. 15-mile-an-hour winds, which really isn't anything crazy here. But by the time we hit the weekend, who knows what's going to happen? So I'm really going to be kind of focusing in on different stacks, just playing some guys that can play in the wind, playing some guys that are going to play well in difficult conditions, and then playing some guys as if the weather isn't a factor at all. So going to have a couple different building sets this week, and that's basically where I'm going. But as far as back to the course, as I said, a lot of pot bunkers here, fairway and green side. So if you're in these pot bunkers, you definitely want to be in the middle of them. You do not want to be close to the lip or the sides. Otherwise, guys might just have to hit out sideways or might not have a shot at all to advance the ball. So definitely keep that in mind. If you're hitting too many of these bunkers, you are going to be out of it fairly quickly. Fairways are a little bit difficult to hit as far as tour average goes. So see a lot of guys just bomb it off the tee here. The rough is not penal at all. So as long as you don't go too far off course and get into that really long fescue, the rough's really not too bad. So guys are just going to look to hit it as far as they can off of the tee. The bulk of approach shots are going to be wedges on the par 4s, and then the longer par shots, 175 and 200 plus, are going to come on those par 3s and par 5s. So you do want a little bit of each. I would probably focus a little bit more on some of the long irons. Now, for some of the longer hitters, maybe you want to look at how they're hitting their wedges a little bit better. But greens and regulation is slightly lower than tour average. Obviously, if the wind picks up, it's going to come into play a lot more around the green. So definitely want to keep that in mind. But for the most part, if the winds are going to stay down, I do think guys will be hitting these greens. Now they are upside down bowl shaped greens, a lot of runoff areas. So guys will be chipping from the runoff areas and hopefully not from the bunkers. But you do want a little bit of around the green game. But as I said, I'm building sets. I'll have some where that does matter and some where guys can just hit greens here. Now, the greens themselves are fescue. They are on the slower side, maybe somewhere around 10 on the stimp. Maybe they try and get a little faster if the winds aren't crazy, but probably playing pretty slow. 3 putts can come into play here, just with guys. They are bigger greens and guys not being used to the speeds of them. So just something to keep in mind there. Basically, what I'm looking at here is guys that can gain a little bit off the tee and then probably want some approach, especially with the wedges and the 200 plus yards, little around the green game. And putting is just it's gonna be a guessing game. You want to go with guys that have that link style and have played on these greens before. So as I said, I'm not looking for a specific golfer this week, just gonna build in sets of the skills that I think might play the best here. So that's really what we're looking at as far as the course goes. The field is a strong one, and I mean, other than basically we don't have Scotty, but it's basically an elevated event. And it's nice to see after the weak fields that we got the past couple weeks. We get to see Rory for the first time, obviously, since coming back from the US Open disaster. So it's going to be interesting to see how he fares. Haven't heard his press conferences or anything yet. So definitely want to keep that in mind. But Rory's at the top, 11,900. Pretty expensive, but we do have a 5K range here, so it's definitely doable. And then usually we see a little bit of a gap from the guy at the top, but Xander's right behind him, 11,700. And at the top, I said, are you playing these guys or you want to go down a little bit lower into the tens or the nines? Because there are some good plays here. But as of right now, I think the bulk of my lineups are going to have either Rory or Xander in them. I don't know how many I'm going to play with both of them just because I don't like a lot of the cheaper guys here. But if I can make it work, I might have a couple, but really probably looking to be pretty heavy on Rory and Xander here. Now, I do like Ludwig, 10,500 I think is a good price for him. Been playing good golf. I do think long and straight off the tee will definitely play here. He's pretty good with the wedges as well. So if he has a wedge on his hand in a lot of these par fours, I think that he can fare well. Now, Colin Morikawa, 10,300, obviously been playing incredible golf. If I'm going to play these three guys at the top and I'm going to play Tommy Fleetwood, I don't think I can play Morikawa. And he hasn't really fared well here, says he doesn't really like the fescue grass very much, but then he came out and won a Open Championship after that. So take that for what you will. But Colin, I think I'm going to skip over him this week. I think I do like him more next week at the Open, but at 10,300, if he's going completely overlooked, it might change my mind. But as of right now, probably going those three guys at the top and then Tommy Fleetwood. Want to keep an eye on Tommy Fleetwood's ownership because at under 10,000, just how well he suits this course, how well he's played this course, he might be the highest owned here. So just got to keep that in mind. Hovland, I'm out on here. Not that I don't think he can play well, just we've seen him very, very up and down. And I feel a little bit better with some of these other guys. Tom Kim, I made an outright on at 28 to 1 with a top six each way. So I do like him quite a bit here. He's come top 10 here the last 2 years. So likes it here. I do want to see where his ownership gets at because if he's getting popular, then maybe gonna fade him and just go with the outright. I do also have an outright on Tommy Fleetwood at 20 to 1. Probably going to be extremely popular, like I said. So if he does get up there like something crazy, like 35-40%, maybe I do just go with the outright and just if Tom Kim is much lower owned than him, maybe add Tom Kim to the player pool instead. But check out the Helm Sports Substack. I'll have everything in there by tomorrow. Rest of these guys, I'm staying away from Hideki. Minwoo Lee's another one, 9,200. I think is a good price for him. Obviously, he's won here in the past. I do think his length definitely plays. Want to see what his ownership's going to be because if he is high owned, I am fine going elsewhere because I do think that with his holes in his approach game, maybe we can get away with fading him here. Matt Fitzpatrick is a guy that tends to show up here and loves playing overseas. So 9,000 for him. I don't expect him to be very popular. So he's definitely in consideration right now for me. Not really interested in a lot of these other guys. Justin Thomas has been okay. Corey Connors has been playing good. Brian Harmon obviously won the Open last year, so maybe this is a good place for him to show up. Sung Jae has been rounding into form, but has never really played well here, so really out on him. Aaron Rye probably going to be popular, but 8,300 I think is just way too cheap for what he's been doing. Obviously, he has been contending the past couple weeks here on tour. Really not been able to put it away with the putter to kind of get a chance at winning, but he's been up there in each of the past couple tournaments. He's also already won here. This is where he should be very, very comfortable, especially on these fescue greens. And I just think 8,300 is too cheap for him. Sahith Theegala, 8,200. Get a little worried about him. Just game hasn't been as consistent as we saw earlier in the year, but I do think that his game can translate here. I think it's a course that can actually fit him. So I am willing to go there in some larger field GPPs. Same goes for Wyndham Clark, 8,100 for him. I think that's a really good price. We've seen him up and down a little bit recently, but most recently he came, what was it, 12th at the Travelers, I believe. So showed a little bit of form and sorry, he was ninth at the Travelers. Gained 3.5 strokes on approach for putting. So I like where Wyndham is at, and I think his game can fit here. Has the distance off the tee that we like. So 8,100, I do like that. Going back to Bobby Mack, another guy, just keep an eye on the ownership, 7,800. Almost won this last year, has been playing very good golf recently. So I do like him as well. Max Homa, I think, is sneaky here. He's actually played fairly well here the past couple years, 7,700. Now, we know Max plays well at courses where he's comfortable, so I think this could be a course where he's getting a little bit comfortable after playing the last 2 years. I've made an outright on him at 50 to 1 with a top six each way, and I don't think he's going to be very popular, so I do like him at 7,700. Next is Benny On, 7,600. Drag my feet a little bit and don't really love the numbers on him, but was considering him for an outright. He's played well at the Scottish Open at the Renaissance Club in the past. 7,600, I think, is a good price for him. Striking the ball well. He does have the driving distance also. He's good on par three scoring, where there's 5 of them here, so I do like that. I like Christian Bezadenhout here, 7,500. I think that he could fare well. He's another guy, though, if he gets too high up there in ownership, I am always fine with fading Seabez. So going to get a little bit more picky as we go down here. Really don't like too much in the mid sevens, but I'm going to play Thomas Dietrich, another guy that has played this course well, 7,200. 7,100 for Tom Hoagie. I think that he is actually in play here. I do think that his game fits rather well. Ryan Fox is another one. Just we're playing that links style course, and he tends to play very well there. Has the distance that you like as well. So I do like him at 7,100. And then the 6K range for me is going to be very, very spotty. And I don't think I'm playing anyone in the 5K range. Hence why I said I don't think I can get there with a Rory and Xander lineup. But I love Matthew Pavone, 6,900. Now, he's also played well here, 12th place in 2021. So shot 13 under. He was in the 60s all 4 rounds. So like the fact that he's played well on this course before. And he's in great form. 5th at the US Open, 16th at the Travelers. So like where his game's at, like the fact that he has actually played here before and played well. So I also made an outright on him at 90-1 with the top 6 each way. Then considering Nikolai Højgaard, don't really play a ton of him. And every time I do, he doesn't seem to fare well. But the fact that we're back overseas, I think you can keep him in mind. Kurt Kitayama and Matt Wallace are also in consideration. Don't really know if I'm going to end up playing them, but as of right now, I do think that this is a course that can definitely fit him. We've seen Kitayama show up here before. And then I have Ben Griffin at 6,600. This is a guy that had eye surgery and then just all of a sudden still playing well. I mean, he had to wear sunglasses because he was seeing spots and still came 5th last week. So pretty impressive for him. And I like where his game's at. So 6,600 for him. And then all the way down at 6,000, I'm playing Guido. Just this is a guy that's also played well here before, and he missed the cut at the he missed the cut last week, but then came 22nd at the Italian Open. He won the KLM Open and 8th at the European Open. So he's been playing good golf outside of that missed cut last week. He's made the cut here 3 straight times. 35th was his best finish over those last 3 times. So he's played here before, and at 6,000, I mean, you don't need him to win. And just as long as he's making a cut and contributing on the weekend, I do think that you can make a case for him in your lineups. Really, that's all I'm looking at. If anything else does pop up, I will have it. Head over to theHelmSports Substack. Everything will be in there. Basically, break down all my wagers, final DraftKings thoughts, the weather, all that good stuff. So check that out. Head over to thehelmsports.com. I will have everything up in the My Bets tab. To recap the outright so far, I have Tommy Fleetwood 20-1. I have Tom Kim at 28-1 with the top 6 each way. I have Homa at 50-1 with the top 6 each way. Then Pavone at 90-1 with the top 6 each way. Probably have room to add another maybe 2 long shots or maybe someone in the mid range. So that will definitely be up on the website by tomorrow. Also made top 20, including ties on Fleetwood and Aaron Rye. But that's the betting card so far. But that's going to do it for this week. As always, thank you for listening. Greatly appreciated. I'm your host, Derek Helm. And remember,
Stefan out there.